Next, we are going to discuss how to graph equations using a graphing utility. Hallelujah. Because graphing by the point plotting method should only be considered a beginning strategy because it is so super tedious. We are going to quickly enhance this method, but for now, let's also look at these graphing utilities, such as a graphing calculator, or there's a pretty cool online tool you can use as well. I'm going to go ahead and color code these. We're going to be graphing y equals the square root of x plus 4. You can pick out some points if you want. I don't want, okay? We're also going to be graphing y equals the absolute value of x minus 2. Let's look at how to do that, first of all, on a graphing calculator, and then I will introduce to you a little website I like to use. Okay? So first of all, if you have a graphing calculator, you can open up your graphing calculator, or actually just get it out, turn it on, and you're going to enter your equation in using this button right here where it says y equals. Now you're ready to put in some of the equations you would like to graph. Here it shows, and you can graph more if you cursor down, but you can graph 7 different equations at once if you want to. I'll just do them one at a time, I believe. First of all, for my y equals the square root of x plus 4, I'm going to hit my square root key, and then you hit your variable key, which is right here, x, then plus 4, hit enter. All right, so you can make sure that it comes up like it's supposed to, and then you go up and you hit the word graph. Okay? Now, there's the graph of y equals square root of x plus 4. If we want to go back and copy that over to our graph paper, it kind of went away, but what happened is we had an x-intercept at -4. We had a y-intercept at 2. And then it was just kind of a little curve as such. Okay? And again, label each graph with its equation. This is y equals the square root of x plus 4. Okay? Next, we'll graph y equals the absolute value of x minus 2. What do those absolute value bars do for us? Well, we know that in solving an equation, that's a game changer. Let's go back to the y equals, and let me just go ahead and clear that one out. All right, we could put this down in y sub 2 and have both of those graphs on our coordinate plane at the same time. That's fine. Now, I need to go grab the absolute value, and that is underneath the math key on these calculators, and then underneath the number column. So I'm going to cursor over to where it brings up the number, and you see option number 1 right here says abs, and that means absolute value. So I'm going to graph that. I'm going to grab that, and it brings up my absolute value bars. I'm wanting to graph y equals the absolute value of x, so I hit my variable key there, and then minus 2. Okay? Hit graph, and you can see that the absolute value of x minus 2 looks to me like we have a x-intercept at 2 and a y-intercept at 2. So when we go to graph that, and then after that it's just a little V-shaped graph. Now, if you don't have a graphing calculator, such as the TI-84, which is what I was showing you, there is a free graphing utility that is actually a website. So you just open up your web browser and type in desmos.com. Okay? From there, it's free graphing, And I'm just going to enter in each of these equations. First of all, y equals the square root of, there's my square root, the square root of, let's see, it was x plus 4, right? And I'm just hitting x on my keypad. There's already y equals square root of x for you. But then what happens when we say plus 4? That's where it moves it over to the left 4 units. Okay? Now if I want to hit enter, it'll bring me up another one. See, that one's in red. That's color-coded in red. And now I want to do y equals the absolute value. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Y equals the absolute value. I'm going to grab that right here. Okay, and then I'll tell it the x minus 2. And that's what we had graphed before. I really like this because the graph paper is gridded off nice and neat, and you can get some really good ordered pairs. It's really easy to zoom, to zoom out or to zoom in. And you can also just click and drag and recenter. Whereas if you need to change the window in your graphing calculator, that can get pretty intense. So this Desmos is a great thing to use. I'd play around with it a little bit. With this, it's really easy to see what's the difference between y equals, for example, absolute value of x minus 2. And I'm going to see if that's the same thing as y equals the absolute value of x, and then I'm going to cursor over here and say minus 2. And you know what? It shows in green, after I kind of move these around a little bit, it shows in green that those are not the same. Y is equal to the absolute value of x minus 2 is in blue. Y equals the absolute value of x minus 2. The set of all xy ordered pairs that would satisfy that equation is down here in green. So I suggest you get on this cool little website, super easy to use, and play around with it a little bit.